So now I would like to introduce you to somebody who is an amazing person. He is from multi-marketing. Now this gentleman, some of you may have met him already and had a chat with him. You will know that he is multifaceted. He knows exactly how to get you to where you need to be. He works as a guide, he works as an assistant, he also projects your marketing and helps you project your books in whichever direction you want to go. So this is what I've surmised by meeting him. In fact, I'm literally meeting him physically for the first time today. We've chatted, I think, numerous times on WhatsApp. We've had our chats, we've discussed a lot, but today for the first time I'm actually meeting him in person. So I'm very proud to introduce you to one of our multi-marketing, okay, I think I will call him the CEO of multi-marketing as well as our publishing house. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Naushad Khan. Hi Naushad. Okay, I'm going to need another mic for Naushad for just a moment. Firstly, Naushad, I think you would like to say something before I speak to you.
Testing 1, 2.
We have competition. So Naushad is the person that pens things down and I'm the person that just likes to talk about it. So that's what makes us, I think, compatible in that sense. Possibly? You could say, yeah. Alright, so Naushad, before we go through with me talking to you about who you are and what you do and all of that, I think it's important that you let the crowd know exactly who you are and what you do.
Alright, so as Zini has stated, my name is Naushad Khan. While we battle with these mics here. All quarter mics, you know, we wrapped up in this courts. So my name is Naushad Khan. I am an author, public speaker, and an entrepreneur. And also, I'll mention I'm an author. This is my book, the very first book I published called Race Jam. And funny story about this book, it actually took me 8 years to publish this book. And I think that story is apt because a lot of authors sometimes they give up. You know, they write, they take so long to write a book and then they struggle and then they feel like, oh, this book is not going to come out, so why should I even bother? And they put the pen down and they just carry on with their lives. And that's a mistake because if you really want to be, if you are serious about being an author or a poet or getting a published book out there, you have to persevere. You have to keep pushing. It took me 8 years to finally get my book out there, and I can be proud and say I did it. There were times I wanted to give up. I said, you know, maybe this is not going to happen, maybe it's not meant to be. I put my pen down, but in the back of my mind I said, no, let me give it a shot, let me try. It either works out or it doesn't. And I kept pushing, and 8 years later, I can say I'm a proudly published author. And because of this book, and because of my coverage in newspapers, I ended up publishing authors. For the last 4 years, I've published, I'd say about 40 authors, 60 authors and about 40 books published under the multi-marketing wing. So that's a huge accomplishment. So the fact that I didn't stop and I got this book out here just shows you that it propelled me from just being an author to an entrepreneur, to a public speaker, to being right here in front of all of you today. So I just want to give a word of advice to all the poets, all the authors standing here, don't give up. No matter what comes in your way, keep pushing. And like Zini was saying, she's Mervyn Francis's slave driver. That's a good thing because it pushes him to get his next book out there. And that's what all the poets, all the authors need to do. Push yourself, get your book out there. Sometimes I know it's a financial thing. You can't afford to get published, but that was my case. I couldn't afford to get published at first. So what I did was I started up a side hustle. I worked a day job, a part-time job. I sold cake cookies on the side. I did a whole lot of ridiculous and fun stuff, and eventually managed to publish my book. So do what you have to do. Put in the work, put in the time, put in the effort, and you also can get your work and your book published. And sometimes it's a fear of some people that, you know, they feel there's something called a fear of success. And that is not, you shouldn't let that get in your way. Put it in the back of your mind and just keep pushing forward. Remember, you will only go as far as you want your mind to go. Your mind has to arrive at your destination before you do. And I also want to say a few words to the community. The ones that support the authors, keep supporting them. Whether you buy a book of theirs, whether you keep supporting them to write, don't ever stop, because that support, you need that. A writer, a poet needs that support system. So that's my word of advice to you as a community. You see an author's book, if you have the means, buy the book. It pushes them, it motivates them, it not only supports them as an author to say that, you know what, I wrote a book and I'm not getting my returns on it. At least they're getting returns on what they've invested, plus you're motivating them to keep writing, to keep pushing and to keep striving and to make them feel like, you know what, all those years of pushing and trying to get their work out there was not in vain. So that's the word of advice to the poets, the authors, and the community that I just wanted to say before we proceed with our interview.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Naushad. So this is where we sit down and we have a one-on-one, right? So it's training for the rest of you that are about to come up as well. Okay, so Naushad is one of the moderators that's going to be with us today, and he's going to have the liberty of interviewing all our authors that are in the house. And then we've got the beautiful Bianca at the back who's going to be coming through and interviewing all our poets. Also, we have motivational speakers on board who have come through to speak to us from the mental wellness perspective as well. So we have a beautiful show. We also have lyricists in the house who are going to be projecting from their perspective what the importance is of writing and penning it down. So in terms of entertainment, we've got a few of them who's going to put their vocals to use and entertain us as well. So we have a full house of entertainment in our program today. But first things first, coming through to Naushad. So Naushad, you've explained to us exactly what you do. Tell us about some of the challenges you have faced thus far in terms of the publishing, in terms of authors, what they go through and so forth.
So I think the first challenge, and I come across this all the time, is authors saying, I can't find a publisher. I can't find someone who wants to publish me. And to an extent and to a degree I can understand, because sometimes bigger publishing houses, they don't want to take authors that are unknowns. They like to take authors that are well known, that they know they're going to get their returns on. So that is one of the challenges, and the other challenges was what I just spoke about, the financial struggle. Some of them don't have the funds to publish. And the cure to that is to just keep pushing, keep working. Like I said, I worked 2 jobs, plus that side hustle, plus I sold cookies, plus I did a whole range of other things. So if you're truly serious about wanting to get published, if you are dedicated to do it, you will do anything and everything in your power and what you can in order to be able to afford the publishing process, because publishing costs money. Editing is probably one of the highest costs. Then you've got layout and cover design. Then you have to go through and get the ISBN you get for free from the National Registrar. And then you've got your printing. That's probably one of the highest costs. And then marketing. So what we at Multi-Marketing did is we try to help the author out. Some things like your editing, your layout, your cover design, that you would have to pay for, your ebook conversion. But where we can help the authors, we help them out. Like we do ad hoc marketing for the authors that publish under us for free. We get the ISBN for free. We do some of their marketing for free. So we try to help out where we can. So the challenges are not finding a publisher, and then the financial aspect, which I feel and I've come across is the biggest challenge for authors.
Okay, so do you think that maybe there should be a platform for discussion, an open discussion with how that can be resolved?
Yeah, like for example, this right here, the Poetry Fest. This is an open platform for people to network, to meet other authors, get ideas, inspired by other authors, other poets, publishing houses that are here. You can get inspiration and draw an idea of who you can work with and how to work and how to get your book out there. So this platform here, the Poetry Fest, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to collaborate. Is because it's a great field to market, network, and get your networks out there. Sharing business cards, sharing ideas with other authors that you've come across. So this platform, and I think it's a great idea to have it every year, once a year, twice a year, to have this connection, and maybe next time we have this, there'll be more people that more authors can network with. So this is one of the places where I feel like this is the best place to have that network and that open forum discussion.
Perfect. So tell us, what made you start writing your first book?
So I've been reading and writing from the age of 5. So when I was 5 years old, my parents actually took me to the library for the first time. They signed up for a library card for me and one for each of them. And at the time, the rule was you can get up to 8 books on a single library card. So if you take 8 times 3, it's 24. I would leave the library with 24 books because the librarians would allow me to use both of my parents' library cards plus my own. And I would go home with 24 books. Now, the rule of the library is you get 2 weeks to read a book, right, and return them. 1 week, that's all I needed. I would fly through these 24 books in a week and go back to the library, return those 24, and then leave the library again with another 24 books. So reading so much, it started conjuring up my own mind, and I started coming up with crazy ideas. But you know, when you're 5 years old, you come up with childish ideas. So, I mean, I remember the first book I wrote, it was with a pencil on an exam pad paper, and it was about talking dinosaurs. Go figure, 5-year-old mind. So, I mean, over time, obviously, my writing matured. I think at the age of 10 years old, I wrote a Western novel. So, at the time, it was unheard of that a 10-year-old was writing a Western novel. And then, at the age of 17, that's when I wrote Race Champ. It came from my environment because where I stayed, at the time where I used to stay, was a place called Overport. And Friday and Saturday nights, you will hear on this main road of Overport called Brickfield Road, people racing down the road, doing drag racing. And then I was a huge fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise. I used to play racing games on my phone. So all of that just conjured up in my mind, and I started writing Race Champ. So Race Champ, in a lot of ways, was just a combination of a multitude of, just being inspired by everything around me and what I've been watching and listening to and seeing and playing. And that's how I came up with Race Champ. And the funny thing about Race Champ is, the moral of Race Champ is to never give up. And in a way, Race Champ, I think, inadvertently reflected my real life because I never gave up. I wanted to get my book out there, no matter what. Come hell or high water, I was going to get my book out there. And in a way, the main antagonist of Race Champ, Jason Woods, is basically a reflection of me. And I think a lot of authors sitting here who have written fiction novels, you can agree that sometimes we tend to insert our own selves into the character. Of the main character of the book, you're trying to put your own personality into the character. So Jason Woods, the main antagonist of Race Champ, is a reflection of me. How he would respond, talk, act, is the way I would respond, talk, and act to different situations. So I think that's what really inspired Race Champ, was a multitude of things, and just reading and writing. That's the thing. Always, even if you're an author, keep reading, because your writing will definitely improve.
Well, that's amazing. So if you had to choose one of your most, favorite part of the novel, what would you choose and why?
Honestly, it would be the first chapter, and I think the first 4 paragraphs of that chapter. Because not only does it set the scene for the rest of the book, it also is an entry into the mind of how the author thinks. Because that's the thing about, especially fiction books and even non-fiction books, how the author speaks to you in the book is basically, that's the author's voice. Without you having to hear what the author himself sounds like, you're reading it, you know exactly what the author and how he speaks, the way he talks, his mannerisms, or her mannerisms. And that is basically why that part is so special to me, because from the age of 5, and even right through my schooling years, I always wanted, and this is going to be a funny story, but I always wanted to start off a book with the lines, "It was a bitterly cold winter night." I didn't know where, I didn't know why, and I didn't know which book it was going to be, and it ended up being my very first published book. So the first 4 to 5 paragraphs of Race Champ not only sets the tone, but it just gives you an entryway into the mind of how I think.
Well, that's amazing, because, I mean, lots of 5-year-olds today think about what phone they're going to have and which movie they're going to watch on Netflix. And then we have this 5-year-old that wants to know, so was this supposed to be the line? This is the line I'm going to use in my book. Well, that's amazing, though. But if you had to read out a little chapter to crowd out here, which would be the chapter that you read?
It would be the first chapter.
The first chapter.
Because that's...
I think we need to give them a glimpse of what your mind is like, because he based that character on himself. So we're going to get a little peek into him now, not just the character in the book, but him. So I say give it a shot.
Alright, so I'm going to read you guys the first 3 pages. It's not, you can see the writing is quite big, so it's not going to take very long.
When he said 3 pages, I was like, oh, I'm just kidding.
Alright, so get ready to laugh because here's the first line. It was a bitterly cold winter night, but at the Oval Tower, things were just about to heat up. The Oval Tower was an independent racing circuit, named so because of the oval-shaped track. This is where many hopeful rookies got their start with the hopes of becoming world racing champion one day. The arena had plenty of seating and always pulled a good crowd, which sometimes had secret special guests, such as big league managers and agents, who would usually call up rookie racers to race in the world championship scene. They were only interested in those who showed promise. Exhaust fumes filled the air as the crowd cheered loudly at the sound of revving engines. It was time for the youth exhibition race. 4 vehicles lined up at the starting line. In a flashy red import was Ryan Rhodes, the local favorite. He was a rising rookie star on the racing circuit. Next to him, in a big green SUV, was Eddie Wheeler, a former gangster from the hood, who gave up his gangster ways to pursue his lifelong dream of a career in the world of international pro racing. Lined up next to him was the sexy biker chick, Selena Pretorius, on her seductively dark superbike. She had all the men in the arena staring in her direction. Next to her, in a white 1990s second-hand sports car, was Jason Woods, a passionate young racing hopeful who loved racing more than life itself. He sat in the car that his father had handed down to him on his 17th birthday. Jason was a young guy just out of high school who was extremely passionate about racing. As Jason's eyes were fixed on the track ahead, he thought back to a couple of weeks ago when he was reading a local newspaper and came across an advertisement that caught his eye. It was an invitational vacancy for aspiring racers to send in their CVs for the opportunity to start a career in pro racing. Jason did just that, and days later he got a phone call notifying him that he could come in for an interview that morning. The president of the Oval Tower, Neville Short, who was indeed short, interviewed Jason. He told him that his youth exhibition sprint race can serve as his audition, and told Jason that if he impressed him, he would offer him a contract to regularly race at the Oval Tower and begin his pro racing career. So this was a do-or-die situation for Jason. It was now or never.
Awesome. I think he needs a round of applause. So you say the guy was short?
Yeah, very short.
Very short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Danny
Any
DeVito.
competition with you? Shorter?
Danny DeVito short.
Oh, Danny DeVito short. There we go. So everything needs a script. Would you agree?
100%.
Be it a poem, be it the lyrics for a song, be it the start of a book, be it even the start of a meeting. Everything needs to be written down. It all starts with putting down that first word. What advice would you give to, I think, the young crowd out there about writing?
First step, read. Read. Just read. Libraries are free. You can go in there, you can sit down, read a book, borrow it, take it home. It's absolutely free. So that's the first step. The second step is to just keep working on your writing. Perfect your writing skills. Find your own writing voice, because every poet, every author has their own voice. So find your writing voice, and the best way to do that is to keep writing, to find your inner voice. And third and last, but certainly not least, keep working towards your goal. Sometimes you can find a financial obstacle, sometimes you can find, writer's block, that's a huge one. But just overcome, work through it. I mean, there's YouTube videos you could find where you can overcome writer's block, where you can overcome certain financial restrictions that are in your way. So read, keep writing, and keep working towards your goal, and that's how you will achieve your dreams.
Now, I believe a lot of kids out there don't think it's necessary to write because they've got their phones, they've got technology, computers, so forth. So basically, just put everything down on technology and that's it. If you had to advise the youth, okay, I don't say against technology, but to include like basically the written word. We are celebrating the written word here. So if you had to advise them on rather penning it down to putting it on social media, what would you say to them?
Well, everything starts with the pen and paper. I mean, but nowadays, even myself, I'm guilty of this. Whenever I need to write something down, I immediately reach for my phone, get out the notepad and start typing out random ideas that just come in my head. So you don't have to abandon technology. You can inculcate technology into how you go about your writing. So a lot of authors, I mean, for the most part, I always advise them to, when I'm publishing them, to send their work in a Microsoft Word format. That in itself is technology because they've written it down on a computer and they're emailing it. So you can basically bring technology into your writing world because a lot of things are not pen and paper nowadays. Everything's on a computer. This design was done on a computer. It wasn't done by hand. So everything that technology does can be inculcated into the writing space. So my advice is, you don't have to abandon technology, but use the same technology to get your written word and your inner voice out there.
Perfect, I like that. But I'm also looking at it from a perspective of many of the rural areas that don't have access to a lot of the, the technology basically. They don't have computers, they don't have, some of them do have phones and stuff, but obviously the emphasis is on making them feel that, you know what, you don't need only technology to do something like this. You can just put it down on a piece of pen and paper, script it together. You can still bring it through to people like ourselves, like yourself, for example.
For example, I had an author by the name of Aubrey. She stays in a rural area in Limpopo. She's been featured in all 3 of the multi-marketing anthologies that I've published. And how that came about is she told me, listen, I'm a girl from a rural area. I don't have technology, I just have this phone. So I accommodated her and said, you have a phone, you have Gmail on your phone. Write out your stories, put it into your notepad or however, and then send it to me as an attachment. And like that, every single year now she's been featured in the anthology. So with the phone, that's your technology.
That's beautiful. But do you think we would be able to have a platform where people who have written things down, literally written them down, will be able to bring it through and be able to get like teams like ourselves who are able to read through it, basically review it and give them an opinion or a review based on what we think. Because you must know, we don't reject,
yes.
We motivate, we give active criticism. That is what we are here for. I mean, okay, I'm not an author. I pen things down all the time. I'm always making notes, I'm coordinating or, doing programs such as these. But I've also learned that in order to coordinate, in order to put things together, you don't necessarily have to be an author or a poet or a lyricist to do that. Even as a program coordinator, we need to literally pen things down. We have to set a program and so forth. So it's integral that we are able to do this. If we don't have access to technology, do we still have a platform for people to bring what they have and then we help them pick that up and make something of it? Do you think we, moving forward, would be able to accommodate such maybe scripts?
Yeah, I'll give you a prime example. The essay competition being run by the school. These children have handwritten their stories out. So why not we, as a group, we take those written and we type it out for them and we fancy it out. Maybe that could be its own anthology by itself, who knows?
I know we had this discussion earlier. So this is Seven Hills Primary. We have asked them to put together an essay competition and give us their essays written by the kids, and these are penned down. In fact, we had a look at them, and he was asking me, the first thing he opened up to the first page, and he said, "Can you read the writing?" These are kids. This is a primary school. Not all of them are able to pen down everything in proper, big, bold writing. Some of them can, some of them just scribble it through, some of them put little flower designs around their essays to make it look better. But this is what I'm talking about. If we give them these opportunities, like he said, there could be an anthology in that. There could be something published. And this is an essay competition. which means he can create an anthology for the school, which means it promotes them, it's a ripple effect, the kids get excited, it motivates them to want to write some more. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of upliftment. So being a literacy upliftment project, this gives them a platform to start doing something, which is now a ripple effect moving forward. So I think that's an absolutely lovely idea.
Yeah, and it's just like the multi-marketing anthology I mentioned. I keep doing it every year. I mean, Mervyn Francis was part of this year's one, and there'll be one next year. Mm-hmm. What it does is it gives poets who have just a little bit of maybe just poetry or just a little bit of money to be able to purchase a portion of the pages in the book to put their work out there. And it's a way to uplift them because now they feel like, okay, I've got this platform now. In this annual anthology, people will see other authors and then they can see my work alongside other authors. So in the same way, the school not only get exposure, but the children also get exposure from being alongside their classmates, their schoolmates, all in one book. So that's a wonderful idea.
Absolutely amazing. So I want to say thank you so much, Naushad, for joining us on this platform right now. We are going to see you again shortly once we start with the interviews. So before you go, I want to say I really appreciate you coming through today and being with us and helping us with your knowledge and whatever you are able to project and assist moving forward, as well as guidance. So yeah, thank you so much once again, and we will chat a little bit later.
Thank you.